What's up, squash players? We have two very important topics to cover in today's video. Number one is, when should you replace a squash ball? And number two is, what's inside a squash ball? Stay tuned. So first of all, when should you replace a squash ball? We're gonna start with a fresh ball. This happens to be an I squash ball, but any brand will do. Now, we're gonna have to see how well this comes out on video, but if you look at your brand new squash ball, you're gonna see that there's some nice, you can feel it, there's some grit on the ball. It helps you cut the ball with the strings of your racket, and when it hits the walls of the court, it will also kind of grip those, so you can, if you put a little bit of spin on it and it hits the side wall, it'll just sort of grab the wall and run along it. It's a nice fresh ball, and so as you play with it, you start to wear away the grit. And here are some that have already been used to varying degrees. You can see that this one here still has a tiny bit of grit left on it. This is getting close to where I would actually say to replace it. When I rub it, it feels a lot smoother, but I can still detect some of that grit on there. But this one's starting to die. These two are about the same, I would say. These are probably already past their prime. Now, you can still get a good game of squash even with a ball that's lost its grit. Yeah, it can still work, so don't worry about it. If this is the only ball you have, just use it. But this is where I would start to recommend that if you have the means, you should replace the ball to get a more enjoyable experience. Now here we have one that is past his prime. He's very smooth, baby soft smoothness. This guy is completely dead. You just will have, it's gonna be traveling around like a rock out there, no grip on it whatsoever. Again, if it's the only ball in your bag, don't worry about it, you use it. But I would recommend swapping out. And it's this guy that I'm gonna use for the second part of this video. What's inside a squash ball? You're about to find out. If you've never looked in one, you're about to find out. So yeah, when to replace one? A little bit of matter of preference, but I would do it when the grit starts to, before it gets super smooth, like the bald head of, who's the guy in The King and I, you know, that guy? Yul Brynner. I think it's Yul Brynner. Anyway, anyone with bald head. Okay, let's look in here. Sometimes the ball will break of its own accord. I'm gonna try not to cut myself as I talk. We're gonna try and cut into a ball. I've never tried this before. How hard is it to cut into a squash ball? We are gonna find out. Come on, baby. All right, we've punctured the seal, but we've still got a lot of work to do. Why is this gonna be a 10-minute video? All right, here we go. Okay, we're getting there. Now this is when you have a broken ball. Sometimes you get this kind of feeling. You can even use these as little markers on, cooperate. You can use these as little markers on the court if you make them into a little, if you squeeze them out like that. Oh, actually, I've already given away the secret, what's inside the squash ball, by doing that. But you can squeeze out whatever's inside and make them into a little target for the floor of the court. Yeah, that's right. All right, now let's keep going. Need a saw for this job. Now, there's something I've never okay, we're getting in there. We're getting in there. Can you see what's in there? Nothing. Air. It's just air. We're gonna cut this guy all the way in half and see if there's any hidden ingredients that I can't see in here. Come on, buddy. Die. Well, we're getting there. I've never understood why they're kind of wet inside. This one's wet inside. It's just been sitting here in my office. I don't know if that's part of the manufacturing process and that moisture is caught in there. It just smells like a rubber ball, but it's wet. Why are you wet? What have you been doing? Anyway, that's the inside of a squash ball. If you've never seen it, It's air, except it's wet air for some reason. So enjoy this video and think about that every time you stroke a ball, that it's wet in there. And I'll see you in the next video. We got it, finally. Now, if you go this far, by the way, you can make yourself 2 targets. How handy is that if you're running out of balls? 2 floor targets. All right, we'll see you next time. You know what? I'm dying to know whether this other squash ball is wet inside also. I'm gonna find out. Here we go. Are they all wet in there? Do different brands have different levels of wetness inside? Oh, I can hear it. Yeah, it's wet also. It's wet in there, kids. Here we go, getting better at cutting them in half. If this is the end of Squash Source, like this is how he cuts himself to death by accident, it'll have been a good life. My knife is wet. Why is it wet in there? Anyway, I don't know. It's the same thing. It's empty, but wet. Probably part of the manufacturing process, and I should respect it. All right, that's it. We'll see you later. Bye.